Hey everyone, welcome back to the show. I'm Annie.
And I'm Dylan.
It's great to have you back, Dylan. Happy New Year. We haven't really talked since the last time we recorded. Last time on the show, we had a famous guest, Tuki, the sock puppet, whatever. This episode, we are here again to rant, rave, and ramble about games that we like and sometimes games that we don't like. But always, we're here to ask the question, what is this game?
And thank you for this Christmas present, Annie. I was talking about this game as one of my favorites, looking forward to play it again. And I didn't have it amongst my collection. I played this on my roommate in Burbank's Xbox. Helped me waste a couple of months. Did the Batman Arkham series. So thank you for the Christmas present of the Switch port of Arkham Asylum, Arkham City, and Arkham Knight. I was happy to jump back into this.
I'll be honest, I was kind of shocked to look back in like the release date and see how old this game is, because I remember distinctly watching my stepdad before my mom got married to him, back when they were dating.
This is bringing back those childhood memories. Wow, triggering that time before when it was kind of a weird time. very, very nostalgic for you, this game.
Yeah, I distinctly remember watching my stepdad play this game and sneak around in the vents. I remember distinctly the second Scarecrow segment where he starts like summoning skeletons and they like come in to attack you, but we'll get into that later. And then later in, I don't even know what year, but my friend Sean, he also started playing this game. And I remember watching him play this game, and I have another distinct memory of it because anytime he was up on the little gargoyles and he unlocked the glide kick, he would just make like loud eagle screeches and he'd just be like, "Ah!" And he'd jump and like kick the people and then he'd just start fighting them. So I have a lot of memories of this game, but I've never played this. So once you brought up that, hey, it's coming to the Switch and I really want to play it again, I was like, hey, I own all three Arkham games. I don't own Origin, but if I like all three of the games, I'll buy Origin and then I'll see how much it sucks based on everyone's opinion or just reaction of me saying Origins.
Hopefully they came out with the proper patch at this point. It was one of those games that wasn't ready to be released and it came out anyway, so it isn't as tight. There's little glitches everywhere. There's actually this Wonder Tower. You haven't played City yet. So Wonder Tower was an impassable obstacle. It was just a skyscraper in Arkham City. And in Arkham Origins, it's a different building, but they still didn't program to where you could interact with that building. So there's just, it's that sloppiness of Arkham Origins that stuck out to me of, the glide mechanic is expanded upon in the other games. So being able to glide around the city and this impassable object that was a skyscraper, and this time it's not, but there's still no collision detection. I was like, oh, that's sloppy, fellas. And it was multiplayer. One of the big things of why this game is so laser focused in its single person, they talked about doing a multiplayer, but no, we have to make sure that the single player is fantastic, which they did for all the Rocksteady Arkham games. Whereas WB Montreal, Arkham Origins, they included a multiplayer and they weren't able to be laser focused and there's little sloppiness everywhere. Whereas this one, they call it like the Metroid type. And I did get lost a few times making my way around Arkham. I could not get out of the hospital ward for quite a while because I couldn't figure out how I got in there. So that was a little frustrating, but worked with the aesthetic and the exploration of this very dreary place that you are stuck in.
Yeah, so before we get into it, let's get into it. At the very beginning of the game, you start out and it's just like a nice little cutscene, which is kind of cool for 2009 because it's a very good cutscene actually. It has Batman driving in with the Batmobile, and then it shows like a couple cinematic shots of Gotham, and then him driving towards Arkham. And you can see like a couple of signs that if you're a big Batman fan, you'll be like, oh, I know what that means. Oh, I get that. Ooh, nice reference. And then it shows inside the car, and it's Joker, like tied up, and I guess Batman had just caught him from whatever adventure they were just doing beforehand.
And you get to know very quickly that Batman caught him very easily. Batman
Too easy.
this was too easy. Don't just let Joker be booked in here. I'm going to come with. This was very easy, too easy catching the Joker.
Batman brings in Joker into the asylum and brings him down to, I guess, to be locked up. And before Batman can like escort him, one of the guards is like, no, Batman, you can't go in there. You're gonna make all the inmates too mad and upset, and you're gonna stir up, and you're gonna mess up the peace. And Batman's like, okay. Before Batman can even leave Arkham, things start going wrong immediately. Turns out Harley Quinn is already inside of the asylum, and the Joker already has tons of people on the inside. Both people on the guard and also people from the Blackgate prison were recently transferred into Arkham. So Joker basically has a huge portion of his own personal army just in the asylum waiting to be released by all the guards that he has on payroll or convinced or blackmailed or however Joker gets people to work for him.
The guard that we do encounter that he's paying off is just a drunken slob, and he needs that extra money, that bribe money that Joker's bringing him. But before everything goes awry, there is a fake out on the elevator down where the lights go out. And when they do come back on shortly, Batman's got Joker by the throat. He knows something is coming. That's a fun when the lights come back on. Nope, this isn't happening.
It's also pretty smart of him because he knows that if he has his hand on his throat, Joker, his options are limited at least. Joker can't do nothing, but he's at least limited.
Yeah, he's tied down like Hannibal Lecter, but still the lights go out, hands on throat, and that's a nice when the lights come back on. Batman is prepared. And he's prepared with gadgets that you get throughout the night, which also makes gameplay like they introduce things slowly. It's so very well done of the mechanics that they introduce you to. Some of the gadgets Batman doesn't have right away. He's got to go back to the Batmobile. He's got a little secret second Batcave home away from home that he has to get these gadgets to help slowly introduce the player to all these concepts.
And I think you hit that right on the head. I think it's a fantastic progression of gameplay because my key example of you suddenly being able to do things you weren't able to is the vertical like grapple or like the zipline gun that you get. So you can it's one of the tools that you get at the near the end of the game, and it's like the grapple shot that you have throughout the whole game, except you are able to shoot a line behind you and a line right in front of you or way in front of you. And then you're able to ride it like a zip line, if you know what a zip line is. And you're able to just take it all the way across to the other side and cross huge distances that you weren't able to before, or you could before, but it was really hard because you had to get high enough to glide and able to. In Arkham Asylum, the gliding is there, but it is a little clunky and it is a little primitive. But the fact that you're able to do it is so cool.
I was actually getting frustrated by how late that zip line was introduced because the collectibles, Riddler has all types of trophies and riddles, little Batman lore that you have to solve and find. And some of them are inaccessible. I have to backtrack. Once I do have that zip line, I was starting to get frustrated. When are we going to get to the fireworks factory? When do I get the zip line? Right there is where I need to go with the zip line. So, some backtracking needed to be done to get all the very well done of the collectibles.
Oh, yeah.
I got addicted to finding those collectibles. At some point, so when I got to the botanical gardens,
Don't you have a clip of the collectibles?
I just have a little visual of the collectibles. I don't have a clip of them. They have the different sections of the island. As you see, a total of 240. And when you're in different areas, Arkham North, Arkham East, and the different uh, interiors, they let you know which one is near, and specifically, like in a room, when like a riddle is in that room, it'll be vibrating to let you know to look for this riddle. Hit the detective mode. That's fun that they include a few sections where you turn on your detective mode to find fingerprints, to find the guard on Joker's payroll has been drinking, so you're looking for the alcohol particles in the air, and that detective mode is what you use as well to find the riddles that you solve. Um,
In the detective mode is just a simple little toggle. You can just press one button and turn it on and off, and it just turns your vision a different color. It outlines most objects and highlights important objects so you can see and navigate. And to be honest, for the most part of the game, I just played running around detective mode. And what I really like about it is you can, on the bottom right of your screen, it gives you a status indicator telling you how many enemies are nearby, how many of them are armed with weapons, and how many of them are just regular, like, fist guys.
and they do give you a visual. Like most people are blue.
You can see them through walls.
You see the blue enemies are the ones that aren't armed. The red ones have a gun in their hand. Oh yeah, there was a little glitch in mine. I was going back and getting all the Riddler trophies, and there was one that didn't show up. It told me what part of the island it was in, but you collect the Riddler maps that let you know where they are on the map.
Oh,
And
yeah,
there
right,
was a
right.
glitch of one not showing up, and I knew the area in which it was in. So I just had the detective mode on. I'm like, there's a wall or something, and yep, there's the wall that I forgot to explode. There's that final trophy that I didn't get.
Throughout the game, as I'm exploring, I'm thinking, well, we'll touch back on it. One of the earliest upgrades that you get, Batman has to go back to the Batmobile because he's being beaten up by a bunch of thugs. And he wants to, make sure his car doesn't get destroyed. And also that the thugs don't end up killing themselves because the Batmobile has tons of countermeasures. He even has to make sure that Oracle, who I believe it becomes Batgirl, or is just this version or this world's version of
This
Batgirl.
is after Batgirl. She is
Okay.
already been Batgirl,
So she's
and
retired now and is Oracle, the Intel lady.
Joker shot her in the spine.
Nice. That's cool.
And she's crippled, so she can no longer physically.
He's good at messing up Batman's friends.
Yeah, and he didn't know her secret identity. He's fucking with Commissioner Gordon. Oracle is Commissioner Gordon's daughter,
Hmm.
and yeah, she's the one that's actually one of the intelligent ways that they use to load in screens
Yep.
of him talking to Oracle, and you're walking slowly. And the vents are another way that they hid those little load screens on you. For me on the Switch, it slowed down a few times while I was in the vents,
Hmm.
and there was kind of like an invisible wall I couldn't pass while they were still loading the next room.
Oh, that's good to know because it was seamless for me. Like, now that you bring it up, yeah, there wasn't like any, like, yeah, there was the cut scenes where it was clearly I'm going from this scene into a boss fight or this scene into this zone. And I really like that mechanic. But now that you mention it, yeah, just traveling from room to room, the only, even opening the doors where clearly the camera's pointed down so you can't see into the room that you're walking into. So once that Batman looks up into the next room, it's loaded. I think that those are really quick and clever. And since I'm playing on the PC, I have it on in SSD, so it's even faster to load. So those load screens for me are seamless, and for the most part, I have none throughout the whole game.
That's something that I noticed here in this Switch version that I didn't get on my initial play on my roommate's Xbox back in Burbank, was the little those little slowdowns in the vents. The Switch is still the Switch. It does very well in this game. The combat still feels very good. This was the first time I played it on the hard difficulty. I imagine you did easy or medium, where you get the little blue indicators of when to hit the block button. This was the first time I tried it.
Yeah, I played on easy.
On the medium, it has those little blue indicators too. On the hard difficulty, you've got to have your timing down. You don't get those little blue indicators. I believe this was the very first time I attempted it without the little blue and yellow indicators for the guys with knives who you have to stun before you start hitting them. I did have a little bit of difficulty at first in the combat because of the expanded. This is a very good first first installment. It's expanded upon. So I was trying to do advanced moves from Arkham City, which do not exist here.
Right, yeah. I was talking to somebody yesterday, talking about the show today, and I was talking about the reason I liked this combat so much is because it's as simple or as complex as you want it to be. You honestly, especially since I played on easy, I could just play the entire game by just mashing X as fast as I can and just punching until every person in the room is dead. Occasionally dodging the bigger enemies and dodging bullets if they have guns. But other than that, for the most part, I can just walk up and just mash X. Or I can mix it up as much as I want. I can trick enemies and lead them into the little spray gun, which blows things up. I can use the grapple hook and drop down and snare them up. I can, in the middle of fighting and punching, I can throw batarangs or use the bat claw to pull enemies towards me.
You've got the 2 finisher moves.
You can dodge roll over and under and through enemies. So you can, I imagine on hard, you need to do all of this. But on easy, for me, I mixed up the combat because I just wanted it to feel like I was just stomping on these goons completely, but not just being like punch, punch, punch. Okay, he's dead. Punch. Okay, now he's gone.
I imagine I could have got through with the just punching and blocking, but yeah, I enjoy that variety of throwing a batarang at people.
Do you have a clip of the combat? Sorry,
yes,
didn't mean to cut you off.
Yes, I do. The skill, more like a skill line than a skill tree here. Here, it does have 2 finisher moves that you get eventually. One, you get different variations of knocking a guy out, often breaking his arm. And one, I do know that this has a throw is the other variation we get. Yeah, just simply hitting the X.
And then there's the good old dick punch.
That was the butt punch. I get the butt punch, the fisting finisher, more than I get the dick punch. That, of course, is supposed to be him knocking him out on the face. That's
him in the face, but yeah.
The instant knockout move. But the animation doesn't always work out that way, where you got some dick punches, it seemed more often, where I get a lot of fisting finishers there. And the throw.
The throw, the throw is brutal because you can... It doesn't give you like a targeting thing, but you can tilt your stick or your WASD, I guess, and your mouse and aim it sort of at the enemy you want it to go towards. And if you're in one of those fights where you're fighting the big bruiser, like the hulking dudes,
the Titans,
you can pick up the just the regular soldier and throw it at the Titan and give him a taste of his own medicine, because throughout the fight, the Titan guy will pick up corpses, guards,
just nonchalantly, one hand, boom. Where Batman, still a human, needs to use both hands to toss him. I love tossing it at a big group of guys to get them down, so there's less people throwing punches at me. Even though they do follow the rules and only punch you one at a time, sometimes 2 at a time. Especially, I think they expanded on that in Arkham City. But yeah, this was without having those sequels to compare it to, this is 100% solid and fantastic fighting that they only made even better with each edition.
I liked the upgrades too. So you have the obvious, just classical batarang, and you have the option to hold it out and aim it at individual enemies and throw it, or you can just double tap the button and quick throw it. which I really like that option because it's always available no matter which tool you're currently using. Because in Arkham Asylum, at least, the way it works is you have one active gadget, and then you have a couple button combinations that you can do to access different tools quickly. Like you can double pull the trigger to use the bat claw. You can double pull the other trigger to throw a batarang. Uh, I You can glide just by holding the A button. Your grapple hook is just one button. So you have all these tools, but you only have one gadget at a time. One of those gadgets is the multi batarang, which is fantastic,
Yeah.
especially once you get it to upgrade and you can use it to hurt thugs instead of just stun them and increase the duration that they're knocked down. And then once you get the triple batarang, you can just quickly just throw 3 batarangs and stun 3 goons, and you're like, okay, they're down for at least 2 seconds, so I can beat up this guy and then go deal with those 3. I think is a fantastic upgrade from just the. You're like, how could the batarang just get better? Well, we'll just throw multiple of them. Well, okay, simple enough.
The Batarang works like a ninja throwing star in this series, and I'm happy they went the video game with it, and you don't have to collect them. There's not a finite amount in the Batman Arkham series. You have an unlimited amount. They decided to go video game with it instead of realistic with it. In that you have infinite throwing star batarangs, and that triple comes in handy at when Joker injects poison ivy with the Titan, and she's got flowers popping up later in the game that have these 3 spores coming to take a good amount of your health if you don't dodge them, or you get the triple batarang. Just one hit, bang, they're all gone.
Once I had the armor upgrades, I felt like it was, especially again, since I was playing on easy, it was just trivial for me to just walk up, tank the 2 or 3 bolts that shot at me, and just punch the plant and kill it in one hit, and be like, all right, just stand here, wait till the combat ends, get my health, and then go to the next one and just punch it again.
On the hard difficulty, those spores beat the hell out of you. They took a lot of your health. So I couldn't get the timing right. I was trying to just run up on them and pound them. I had to be like, nope, let's triple batarang them. This takes a lot of our health on the hard difficulty.
Is there any other way to deal with them other than, like, to finish them? Or do you just walk up and press A?
That's it. You just walk up, press A, and give them the old. And the animation of the plant residue hitting the camera is a fun addition when you're taking out those poison ivy. I got so frustrated again that trying to backtrack when poison ivy has taken over different sections. Some areas are cut off.
Yeah, it changes the route of the island. Like options you've been using all the way up until that point. Like, oh, I'm just going to walk through this door and travel from this part of the island to this one. Nope, now it's covered in vines that are unpassable. So you either need to figure out a way to get under or through the vines, or you need to go all the way around the other way.
Yeah, there's a new route that you must go through, which you have your bat grappling hook that gets upgraded. Certain walls that you couldn't reach to explode. Now the ultra bat claw can pull them down. That's the second to last gadget that you get to help you pull down those walls that were inaccessible. You couldn't blow them up. You couldn't get there to spray the explosive spray on before.
Yeah, I was going to touch on that. When I was exploring the island early on, after I had gotten to the Batmobile and retrieved it's essentially just a goo gun that you can remote detonate the goo. So it's just a remote mine layer, essentially, like just as easy to put it. So once you get it, you can use it in combat to not kill goons because it's a non-lethal amount of explosive, apparently. But if you put it on a wall that's fragile enough, you can just blow up the wall. Using detective mode, walking throughout the island, I can see various walls like up on the ceiling and up there, and I'm just like, oh, okay, so eventually I'm going to come through a different part of the island, and I'm going to come out of that part. Well, after I'm like almost towards the end of the game, because I do remember the end of the game. I don't know whether I watched my friend Sean or my stepdad play it, But I remember walking into the visitor center, and then that's when you fight Joker at the end. And I'm like, okay, so I'm going to that part now, and I still haven't come out of that part. So, just before then, as you mentioned, you get the final upgrade to the Bat Claw, which is just the grappling hook, but the combat version of it. Uh, it now has a triple shot, so it has triple the leverage, and it can spread out the pulling effect of it way better. And you can use it to range pull down these big walls, and the ones that are on the ceiling that I thought the entire game that there was some secret route I was supposed to come out that way. But nope, once I get this thing, I'm just doing a little bit of backtracking, seeing any wall I do, shoot it, pull it down, and I'm like, okay, I went up here and there's nothing here. Oh, okay, it's probably one of those Riddler challenges. Touching on the Riddler challenges, there are a couple of them. There are the simple, just collectible, where you just walk around and pick up a little question mark trophy that is easy to see or sometimes really well hidden. You can see them better with detective vision.
Yeah, the detective vision, you can see the walls that are explosive. Once you get a certain amount in the game, they have a certain look to them, and you can be able to tell if you're paying enough attention, oh, that's an explodable wall. Some of them are just out in the open. And as you said, those walls, some you can't reach until you get the bat claw. Like, you can see them at, throughout the game. These walls that you can tell through detective mode I can take out, but you have to wait till damn near the end of the game. And yeah, that's the first type of the three Riddler. I touched on it earlier. The other type, the riddles that are strewn throughout the island with Batman.
Whenever you walk into a zone, at the top of the screen, bats will flutter, which I don't know whether they're actually bats or it's just a UI function. But either way, it's a really nice touch of the Batman theming, and it looks really good. So bats flutter towards the top of the screen, and then they separate, and then there's text there that'll say something like, the legacy of this island is well and truly buried. And that's just a riddle that you will have to go and find and decipher, like, what does that mean? Okay, well, throughout the game, if you've been paying attention and looking at the clues and using your detective mode, you will have found a couple of things from this guy who founded the island. Um, Presumably, if you know who he is and you put together the clue that's pretty obvious that it's buried, well, then you probably have to go find his grave. So you go find his grave, and then you activate your detective vision, you flash scan it, and boom, you solve the riddle. And I think that's a really clever, because if you just read it once, you don't even have to like go looking for it. If you already know where it is. Another example is a bunch of text, and then see and saw. And I was like, I don't know what any of that other stuff means. All I know is I need to find a seesaw, or a teeter-totter, as it's called sometimes. So way later in the game, I come out of like this little cave, and I see it one sitting there. I'm like, oh, okay, bloop. And I scan it and just
forever to
suddenly solve the riddle.
The first time. I recalled that one. There's some I could not remember, but the seesaw in particular, since it took me so damn long to find where that seesaw was, I knew exactly where to go when I was like, all right, let's get some of these out of the way. And what
did you 100% them this time?
Yes, I did the 100%. When I got, there were 3 that I forgot to get before the Joker battle, including some of the Amadeus Arkham. That's the one highlighted on the screen above. You get your little character trophies, which is just being able to see the character model on the main screen. You get the character profiles here.
I never looked at any of those. I noticed that I was getting little like character trophies and bio unlocks for all sorts of characters. Like, I didn't even know it was one of the riddles, or I didn't pay attention, but I was walking through one of the cell blocks, and I'm just looking in each of the rooms, just because, but I'm in detective mode, so I'm not actually seeing like any textures or anything on the wall. I'm just looking around, and then I see one cell that just looks different in detective mode, so I turn off my detective mode, and it turns out the whole wall is just covered in different dates and different
Calendar Man cell. Yes.
Yeah, so I just immediately was like, oh, this is Calendar Man. Bloop. And I just took my little screenshot of it and got the bio or the character trophy for it, but I never checked out any of those.
Yeah, on the main screen, the character trophies are the character model that you can get a good look at. And I was disappointed at myself. I never 100%ed this game before, but I was trying to do it this time. The stones of Amadeus Arkham, you must get all of those before you defeat the Joker. You can still get the 100%, but to complete the story, you need to scan all of those and then do one more thing to completely finish that little section. So I was disappointed once I was like, oh, okay, I defeated the Joker. I missed these 3 over here in areas I couldn't access till the last minute. So I scanned it, and there's one little question mark left, and you can't fill that little question mark in after you've defeated the final Joker boss. So that's something.
Oh, okay, interesting.
That if you want to get the final ending of those Amadeus Arkham statues of him going more into madness, you got to scan them all before the final battle and then do one more thing.
That's good to know if I ever go back and do it. I had no intention, at least I probably am not going to do another playthrough, and I knew that. So as I'm going through the game, I'm trying to do as much as I can while I'm doing it. I'm not trying to backtrack and play a couple of extra hours to go get all the collectibles. But if I'm in an area, I'm going to be thorough and look around and scan all I can and pick up all the Riddler trophies and make a note if I have to come back later and see one of those walls I have to pull down or blow up that, I need to do that later. But I knew, like I said, I knew I wasn't going to do another playthrough of it. So I was just trying as hard as I can to collect it all.
Yeah, that was a little slip up on my part where I was going around. I forgot exactly where it was that I left those 3 final trophies, but I'm like, I'm right here next to the penitentiary. It's actually, you can be very rude as Batman. You've got a welcoming party into the final battle of 2 long lines of these bad guys cheering you on. They've got party hats, and I guess you can probably just go into the next room, but I always start hitting them, in which they start ganging up on you on this long hallway. The boss battles are a nice little progression.
I think there's an achievement for ruining that little greeting party. Like, if you're on Steam or Xbox or whatever platform has achievements, I think that's one of the achievements.
That is one of the things I miss out on the Switch. They don't have any version of achievements, and that's something I had a little flash of like, oh, I would have got that little bleep achievement if I wasn't on the Switch right here.
They should have a mechanic for that, and they should just call it badges, because that way it's cute, kid-friendly, You could have like an explorer rank or some stupid thing.
And that in itself is another like collectathon throwback to back in the day, those achievements on Xbox. Oh, but one thing that I did get on this Switch version that I didn't get, it was a PS3 exclusive on the original version, was the Joker side missions. You have the challenge mode from the main screen where you can do stealth and fighting missions as Batman.
Really?
It was
That's
a PS3 exclusive. That there were those with the Jokers fighting the guards as well. So that was something that I was very happy to see was included on this trilogy version that I was not able to experience on the original playthrough that I had on Xbox.
You mentioned the visitor center, where at the end of the game, you are invited to a party, which is an obvious trap, and it's set up clearly because, as Dylan just said, there's a hallway full of goons and stuff, and none of them are attacking you. They're all just like, well, they're cheering you on, but it's clearly patronizing because none of them are really into it.
The goons on the outside welcome you, and then you're the guest of honor. Let's give them a welcome. They do start hitting you without being provoked. But yeah, that long hallway, they will not hit you until you start provoking them.
If you go to the visitor center early on, because I knew that was the end of the game, as I'm walking by it the first time I'm there, I'm like, I wonder what's in here, because it's not the end of the game yet. So I go in there, and I think it's really cool because there are very seamless and very small parts of the game where you are in first person, especially if you're using the little scope option that is included in your visor, which is only needed to solve very certain riddles, or if you want to zoom in and get a better view of the enemies over there in the area. Um, I lost my train of thought. No, okay, got it. Whenever you're walking into the visitor center, the first time you open the door, and immediately you go into first person, and it's like kind of a cutscene, but it seems like it's still an engine. It doesn't really look full cutscene-y. You're at your first person Batman. You're walking down the hall, and you're looking, and there's nobody in the visitor center. There's cells to your left and right, and my I don't remember the end of the game, but I remember enough about it to know that this is where it's going to happen and that there's going to be some sort of scare in here later. But I'm like, wait, are all of these cells supposed to be full of bad guys? Am I going to like beat them up later and then they're going to be in here? But it's like eerily empty. Then you walk towards the end of the hallway and there is a mannequin dressed up like Joker with a TV sitting on his head. And Batman walks up to it, and as soon as he like walks up to it, I guess it's motion triggered, or there's a camera probably, or multiple cameras, but you walk up and then Joker starts talking to you through the TV head. And I think it's really cool because, like I said, this whole time you're in first person, so you don't get to turn around or do anything really. And of course, we have the best Joker voice actor, Mark Hamill, here.
I forgot to check in as the game progressed.
It cuts off, and then now you're finally able to move around. But like I said, it's still like in engine, but it still has that kind of like cutscene looking feel to it. So I spent a couple of minutes here just walking around the visitor center, looking at the floor, seeing if there's like any clues or anything cool. I couldn't find anything, so I left and went back on my journey.
Yeah, I was looking for those little. There's two places where there aren't any Riddler trophies. That and the Bat Cave away from the Bat Cave, which makes sense. It would be completely illogical in story if the Bat Cave had any Riddler trophies, because no one knows about it. Not even the Oracle knew about this second Bat Cave away from the Bat Cave.
Well, presumably, if Edward Nygma does know about the Batcave is pretty well locked down and has basically scan in and scan out only entrances. So unless Edward Nygma could hack those, which he claims he can, or he can make up a good enough disguise to look, sound, and pass a bioscan to be Batman, you're correct. There's no way that he was going to put any trophies or riddles inside of his Batcave.
Oh, we didn't mention one of the variations of the Riddler's mysteries, the interrogation tapes that are strewn throughout the island are another little extra.
Oh, I think those are super cool. Yeah, because they're like essentially little audio logs. And I like it, but the art for the characters is more like comic book friendly instead of Arkham timeline friendly, because
Absolutely.
Some of the characters don't look almost anything like their in-game counterparts. Like Killer Croc looks way cooler in his art than he does in the game, but I understand the limitations of the time, and he does look cooler in the future games, especially in the third one, where he's much more like crocodile-like, and he's all like long and fat, and he's all like brr. I think Killer Croc is done really well in the Arkham series,
and we do have their official non-canon, all those character bios, because some people are introduced in Arkham City, and it doesn't exactly match up with their. It gives them like their the little touch that I absolutely love is when they were introduced. It tells you the issue of Batman and the year. Like, some people have been around since Detective Comics number like 36 in the 1940s. And some people you see were introduced in the 80s, and it's like, yeah, this does seem more of like a 1980s. Aaron Cash, the guard who plays a big role, introduced in this game, both him and the warden, Warden Sharp. It says introduced 2009 in Arkham Asylum.
Whenever I first started playing, Warden Sharp is introduced pretty early on through little like screens and overhead little audio playings that are happening. And it was irritating me because his voice is super distinct, and I'm trying to figure out, where else have I heard this guy? I've listened to hours of this guy, but I can't put my finger on it. And it wasn't until like all the way till when I rescued him, and he's in his most like whiny and like disparaged, or his weak state, that I'm like, oh my god, he's Mr. Harriman from Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends. He's the bunny guy.
I didn't pick up on that. I hadn't watched that show before, so that was a reference that I missed. And what's really fun about when he's at his lowest, and uh, he just locks himself in this small little room away from everybody, is that there are two prisoners in that room. One is Clayface.
Is that the one who's behind the wall?
Yes. If you didn't
Oh,
scan
okay.
him, that's one to scan for one of the riddles. It's Clayface, but behind the wall, who's impersonating. He could impersonate several different people. When I came into the room, he was impersonating Aaron. Cash, was it? I just said his name. The guard.
Yeah, Aaron Cash, the guard.
And then after I saved Quincy Sharp, I walk out and he's impersonating Quincy Sharp. It is only Clayface and one other person in that room that looks like Annie's having some internet issues. There's one other person in that room. The only two people that are locked away for the entire game are Clayface and that other unnamed person who was actually a fan who won a competition to have his likeness in the game.
Oh, that's cool. So it's like a real life person's likeness, and it's just a nameless inmate that is that person, but in the game.
Yeah,
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah, he won a contest, and they animated his face into the game. And it's actually right after that portion that the Maniacs are released. As you walk into that area where you save Warden Sharp, there's all these Maniacs in these tiny cells that are screaming that get released, and that's a new enemy type now that you. Your normal tactics don't work on. They are just going to come running at you and maul you unless you hit the stun button or the block button really quick and take them down.
Now that you mention those guys, I was thinking, oh, those guys are so trivial, but on hard mode, that doesn't give you the indicator when they're jumping at you or whatever. So anytime I was fighting the maniacs, I would just walk around holding the crouch button, so my right trigger, and I would just like have my finger on the parry button, and I'd just walk around and just wait until one of them would jump on me, and I would just immediately parry them. And the reason I would hold the crouch button is because it enables you to do ground finishers. So as soon as I would parry them, I would throw them on the ground, and then I would already be crouching, and I would just hit the parry button again and just bam. So it'd just be like an instantly two-tap all of these maniacs. And even if three of them or two of them are running at me at one time, you mentioned in this game, kind of only one enemy really attacks you at a time. So I'm in the middle of flipping this guy off and then punching him in the face to like take out the maniac. And the other maniac's like, oh, wait, hold on. Okay. Are you done? Okay. All right, cool. Now I'll jump on you. And then I just parry him and do the same thing to him.
And just as I said with the spores from Poison Ivy on hard mode, if those maniacs do tackle you, they take a lot of your health in hard mode.
Okay, that is true on easy too, because it seems like they have like a fixed base amount of damage that they jump on you. And like, even if I like spammed my, I guess, A button to throw them off of me after they jumped on me, they would still have done like 10 or even 15% of my health. So if it happens repeatedly, or if I'm in a fight with other people and then one of those guys jump on me, it does such a big chunk damage at the beginning that those guys are rough. So that's why I immediately came up with a strategy to walk around, crouch, boom, boom.
And if they did grab me, I had to go and get some of the Riddler trophies that I hadn't gotten yet. That's one of the few ways that there are no health packs. You either get a Riddler trophy, and that gets a little bit of your health back and gives you some points towards upgrading and filling out. It was more of a skill line than a skill tree. And
oh yeah, I liked that.
And the other way was by winning a battle. Once you win a battle, the bigger the battle, the more health will be restored. Like the next to last boss battle, where you've got two titans and a room full of thugs, my health was almost completely to zero at the end of that, and it just went right all the way back up after that boss, next to last boss battle for the final boss battle.
Before we get to the final boss battle, let's jump back to uh, earlier in the game. There are many villains that are fan favorites that are introduced through the Arkham series in their own way. All of them are obviously on the asylum for their own various reasons, being interrogated, and now most of them have broken out. You have the famous Bane, the Mexican wrestler who is juiced up with venom, so he's a big beefy dude, and he's running at you. And I think Dylan actually has a clip here of it. It's a pretty simple boss fight, but it sets up the rest of the game for all of the Titan infected enemies that will be introduced later. Which, touching on that part, Titan is a variant of the Venom formula developed by one of the doctors on the island.
Unwittingly working with Joker. Yeah, he used an alias to unwittingly get this doctor to suck Bane dry of his venom and experiment with it, turning it into a Titan. And once you save Bane, he immediately turns against you. The Joker's thugs are working with him, and this is the first boss battle. I've heard some people really ragging on the boss battles, that they're a bit too samey, which is true, but they up the stakes each time. This is the first variant of the boss battle, which Bane comes running at you.
I think I disagree with that. I think the only two, I think that comparison could be drawn for Bane and the final boss, Joker, because they're both just berserkers. But the boss fight with Poison Ivy is unlike anything else in the entire game, period. And then the fight with Killer Croc, you don't even really fight him. It's more of a platforming puzzle running thing. You're essentially, because there's no way, with Batman's current loadout that he had at that moment, there's no way, and in the position in the sewer, there's not really any way Batman could have beaten and incapacitated Killer Croc. So his only option was to run and get through the sewer to gather the ingredients he needed to make the anti-venom antidote. So he gets all the ingredients, and again, he has no way to beat Croc, so he's just running and running. That's the whole fight, which I really like that, because it's not just, if they would have had you fight Killer Croc, I feel like it would have been another just, oh, I'm a big berserker, rah, run at you, smash into a wall, and then Batman beat him up a little bit, or use an explosive or something boring. So I disagree with that sentiment. I agree that there are a lot of berserker enemies, and like I was saying, Bane, his whole purpose is to set up, hey, this is the mechanic you're going to need to use to beat the regular old enemies that are going to be thrown at you now, and you're going to need to be used to it by the end of the game when you have the Joker.
Yeah, you are right. Those are two completely unique ones. This one right here, learning, and if Bane just kills you, you don't figure out that you're supposed to throw your Batarang at him in order to get him to stun. And then eventually, after enough of those, you're able to get on his back right here and unhook his venom tank.
Yeah, your goal is to get him to get him de-juiced from that stuff. Because Bane is much too big of a threat while he's on the venom, so if you can take him off his supply, he's less of a threat.
I love that little touch of grabbing a portion of the wall. And yeah, we do get several versions of this fight. They up the stakes. We get another 3 versions. That's what people complain about, because yeah, the poison ivy.
I see what you mean. There's no parry markers. Aha.
Yeah,
he's just got to see it and time it. Oh, that's cool.
After playing enough, you do get the timing down. When that long hall full of enemies, I had trouble getting the timing down with many of them. But yeah, it is like a feel of timing that since I'd played through this and Arkham City, shitload, I was like, I believe I have the timing down. Let's go on hard. So yeah, a little bit of difficulty getting back into the swing, and yeah, definitely you need those indicators on your first playthrough. If you're damn good, maybe you can up it during the first, but for a bit, you're definitely going to need those indicators to let you know. Oh, and the different enemy types. You get the enemies with the knives, you
You
can't
can't
hit.
basic punch. Yeah, because they'll block you.
And the ones with the stun lancers. And once again, great gameplay introducing these one at a time. As you defeat different sections of the map, you get these little presents by the Joker, and a lot of the time it's just Joker teeth that pop out, which you just hit with a batarang. But yeah, sometimes it's this new enemy variant that pops out of the box with his knives to show you in a controlled environment all alone you can't do what you were doing with this guy.
Before we get off the Bane fight, you mentioned that you obviously can get beaten by him in this fight. I love the defeat screens in this game because if you're just out and about and throughout the world or whatever, and you lose or you die or you fall off the edge and don't recover, you will die. Your screen will go black, and then it'll be like the perspective is that Batman's laying on the ground, either on his stomach or his back, and the enemy's walking up towards him, taunting him. Usually it's Joker telling him, haha, you suck, you're an idiot. But if you're in a boss fight or in a section against a specific boss, and you die, it'll be that boss walking up to you. My first fight against Bane, you mentioned, it doesn't tell you that you have to throw the batarang to stun him, so I was just getting my butt kicked, and he finally beat me and killed me. And then the defeat screen was super cool, and I had it recorded, but it was just a black screen. It didn't actually come through, so I can't pull the clip. But Bane walks up to Batman and he picks him up, and he said, I have beaten or I have broken the bat. And then he does the classic, puts his knee up and breaks Batman's back over his knee. He Banes him, and I was like, yes, he did the thing.
There are a couple variants, but yeah, that's the absolute best Bane variant of him doing the move we all know.
So it's worth me dying to Bane just so I could see him break me in half. The other defeat screens throughout the other bosses, since we're still on that, you have the Scarecrow who will walk up to you, who is the other... I think he's my favorite boss in the game. There are... the Scarecrow's introduced very early into the game, and if you are a fan of the Batman series, you know all about Scarecrow. His theming is drawing out your fears and playing on them, making you a subject to them, and essentially making that your whole weakness. And he has a toxin and, in some variants, a gas, which can be airborne. So the Scarecrow has all sorts of ways to just, I guess, infect you.
There's a nice fake out of Commissioner Gordon dying, and you can see Batman's eyes, I believe, are red in there. If you know the lore, and there were gases. There's different areas where there's gas coming through. When Batman sees that he failed Gordon and Gordon has died, he's just been gassed. His eyes are red with the fear toxin, and it's just a nameless guard when he comes back to it later, and the fear toxin has worn off. But there are a few fantastic segments of the fear toxin when you go through a hallway and revert back into boy Bruce Wayne, like that. That hits you in the emotions.
Oh yeah, I have a beautiful screenshot of this. You're walking down this long hallway. I think it's after the third or fourth time that you are succumbing to the gas of the fear. It's unclear, or at least it was unclear to me, whether throughout the entire game you are just being gradually dosed, or at the beginning of the game you are dosed so thoroughly that you're having lasting effects. However, during one of the segments, it seems like you're being redosed multiple times, which is why the fear segments are varying in severity. There's parts where it's completely disassociated from reality, and you're running around, and there's a giant scarecrow, and it's clearly that you're insane right now. And there's other segments where you're just walking down a hospital hallway, and it gradually gets longer and longer, and
turns into an endless hallway. Yeah.
Every time it resets the length, it becomes more and more like Crime Alley. You start seeing bricks. It starts raining. It starts becoming more and more terrifying. And then at the very end, you become young Bruce Wayne, and you hear your parents die, and then you walk up to them as young Bruce Wayne, in distraught. And I think this is a beautiful screenshot. I would have used this for the episode art, but I don't want to use any official art. So I really, really like this screenshot. And I think it's I think the Scarecrow segments are the best part of the game. You have one here that is towards the end, after Batman has beaten the Scarecrow a couple of times, and he's finally about to get to the Joker. He gets hit with probably the biggest, I would say, it's fair to say that he overdosed on the fear toxin, which you mentioned that Batman in this game is, just a guy, and that's kind of the case in all Batman lore. But this Arkham Batman is kind of like a super Batman, because not only is he almost completely resistant to the fear toxin, even when injected with it directly multiple times. At the very end of the game, he resists the Venom transformation because Joker shoots him with a dart, and it hits him, and his muscles start bubbling, and he's just like, "Nah, I'm good. I'm just gonna sit here, and I'm just gonna be like."
And he has one dose of the antidote, which he's able to stave off that transformation long enough to give himself the antidote and stop that transformation.
Effectively, once you get to this part of the game, Batman does succumb to a complete overdose of the fear toxin.
And this one plays on the gamer's fears as you are making your way through the game very late in the game. Yeah, and usually you can see a visual representation of the gas coming through vents. And this fear toxin doesn't hit Batman if you don't know this is coming. Were you aware this was coming? Did you have a flip out of your game crashing at this point?
I had seen this, I think, when my stepdad played this, because he freaked out. He thought his game had crashed, and I was like, "Oh no, what the hell's happening?" And then, if you pay attention here, it says Batman may be an escaping patient instead of inmates, or hitchhikers, maybe escaped convicts.
Madhouse. It doesn't say that in the original, and yeah, here's where you know for sure that this is part of the game. The Joker is driving the car instead of Batman driving the Batmobile.
So then now it's essentially the very beginning segment of the game, except it's flipped.
Recreation, yes.
At the beginning, you're Batman and Joker's on the cart, and now you're Joker and Batman's on the cart with all his goons in control.
Yeah, same thing, that you have the ability to walk as fast or as slow as you want. There's a few Easter eggs that you can check out as Batman if you're not right up on it. And there's a little bit of audio here from Warden Scarface, the puppet, that you can check out. Oh, actually, I pulled this one from YouTube. I didn't notice that little Easter egg there of the gunned, the armed prisoners.
Yeah, they're walking Gordon, Sharp, and somebody else, a Cash. They're walking them, assumably, to execution. I think Scarecrow's representation in this game is really cool. He's wearing a hood, and he's stitched together looking. He's wearing his classical old knapsack. But where his mouth is, it's all strung together, and anytime he talks, it looks like, I don't know, it's just horrifying Stitch mouth. I think he's really well done in this game.
Yeah, that Stitch mouth going up and down, it looks like it could be his actual face instead of a mask, a horror face rather than just a mask.
So here you get a fake out actual game over screen. And will you pause right here for me?
Yes.
Read the tooltip that comes up, because throughout the game, anytime you die, especially if it's in a boss fight where you have to learn a new mechanic on the fly, it'll kind of give you a hint ooh, maybe try to throw a batarang at him or something like that.
As we mentioned with Bane.
This tooltip, It comes up, and it's easy to read right over, but if you read it closely, it says, use the middle stick to dodge the Joker's gunfire.
This isn't the Nintendo 64 controller, where the middle stick is the only stick. We've been playing with a left and a right stick for generations now. So you think you're going to be set back? All right, I'll just use the middle stick. Middle stick.
Wait, what does that mean? Hold on. Is that? Do I have to get a joystick? Is that So then you like, after thinking about it for a couple seconds, you're like, okay, whatever. And then you hit retry, but instead of retrying, you wake up in the next and final segment of the Scarecrow Fear boss fight thing. You raise out of the ground from your own grave,
Yeah,
and then you're fighting
the classic arm through your own grave. This is where this clip ends. So we don't have coming out through the grave, just absolutely filthy. And I believe it's 3 different versions of Batman all locked up, just flipping out in different ways as you get to the final Scarecrow segment of hide and seek from that boss. Yes, there you have when he thought that Commissioner Gordon was dead with those red eyes.
And then later on in that same segment, you come across a morgue and you open up a couple of body bags, and Batman's like, "Oh no, it's my parents." So this kind of reinforces my thing that like this Batman is kind of just like really smart and really like powerful, because at this point I would just be like, "Oh, okay, I'm hallucinating. They're dead. They're 100% dead." And then he breathes his toxin straight on your face, and then you go, I didn't pull the clip to it, but you like wake up and you're like, "Oh, okay, I'm fine." And then as soon as you turn around, this is like the first big like Scarecrow boss part. For the viewers, you can see that it's still just the same old morgue. The body bag is gone though. But if you, the player, turn around, the entire wall behind you is blown out, and it's this giant like void spiral of debris and junk. It's like the entire hospital and island had exploded and been replaced with a giant Scarecrow. And he's just floating around in circles with his death gaze, and you have to avoid it. And I think it's, again, that boss fight is nothing like anything else in the game, because it's not really a fight. It's kind of like a platformer segment where you have to get past a death gaze. So I think this game is incredible from front to back. And I think the Scarecrow segment is paced out really well, because if you had spent, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes in the Scarecrow Fear segment, it would have been tedious. It would have been annoying. You would have been like, "Okay, I'm done with this." But Batman quickly gets through all of these, because Batman has, I guess, his superpower, which, it's, lame to say, but his superpower is will. He has unwavering conviction, will, and determination. At the very end of the game, as you mentioned, he is resisting the transformation and finally built up enough strength. And Joker's like, "Do it, transform, kick the shit out of me." And he's like, "No, I will never do what you want," and injects himself. And Joker's like, "Oh, man, you suck." But, that's exactly what Batman, that's the victory Batman is seeking, is not becoming the monster everyone assumes that he can be.
And of course, the Joker always trying to get him to succumb to the dark side. The Darth Vader to Batman's Luke Skywalker. Oh, very appropriate. Luke Skywalker is the Darth Vader in this.
I think the last boss that we haven't really, there's 2 more. The Killer Croc. He is introduced at the very beginning of the game, kind of in the tutorial. As you're walking with Joker, Killer Croc comes up the elevator and he sniffs and he's like, "Oh, Batman's here. All right, it's game time. I am going to wait in position until Batman comes to me, because it's only a matter of time." And then it's built up a couple of times throughout the game. You get to a segment where it's one of the primary entrances to Killer Croc's lair. Probably where they throw the food in, or I don't know, whatever. But it's one of the big doors. You walk up to it and you can see into it, so you like go to view it, and then Killer Croc comes up and he like punches the glass and he like scares you, and he's like, "I know you're here, Batman. I'll kill you.
I've got your scent too."
Yeah, so you can't get in that way, but okay, he's in there somewhere. And it's not until like near the end of the game, after the next and last boss we haven't talked about much, is Poison Ivy. She's introduced just briefly. You like walk past her in one of the segments where you're going through a prison, and you see Poison Ivy in this big old cell, and there's a brief point where Batman talks to her, and she's all like, help me, Batman. And he's like, no, I don't need. You're a big trouble. I'm just stay here, please. And then he walks and leaves her. And then right after he leaves, Harley Quinn comes in and she's like,
You're not on the guest list, but okay.
okay, I'll let you out though. I don't know why Batman didn't secure the cell better or like break the controls or do anything to prevent her release because Batman had the entire situation in his hand right there. And he's just like, okay, can I trust you? And she's like, no. And he's like, all right, cool. And then leaves. So then, yeah, Harley lets her out, and then Poison Ivy goes and
There's a botanical gardens. Of course, that's directly where she goes.
I don't know whether she's convinced to. Okay, let me ask you: is Poison Ivy forced to join the Joker, or did she do it on purpose? Because it doesn't really sound like she kind of liked what was happening.
Once she was injected with the Titan formula, she was just wanted to do her own thing. She didn't want to be part of what the Joker was doing. The Joker forcibly injected her with Titan, and she got drunk on power at that point.
Okay,
she was able to get her plans to take over Arkham Island, and so she got once she was injected with the Titan, that won her over. She was drunk on the power that was injected into her, and now willing to go along with the plan.
Before she went too crazy, though, in a moment of lucidity because Poison Ivy isn't necessarily like a real bad guy. She does a lot of bad shit, but she has her own like good intentions and good motives or whatever. She's not evil.
I would be one of her goons. I would be her eco-terrorist because
she's a bad guy, but she's not an evil bad guy. She's not evil.
She wants modern society to crumble and restart anew. She is an eco-terrorist who is extreme in her point of views. And I would be one of her goons. She would barely even need to use her seductive means on me to be like, yeah, you're right. Let's tear this down and try again.
Right. So in a moment of clarity or whatever, Poison Ivy or maybe even Pamela, the personality deep still within her somewhere, was kind of like, so this is how you are going to solve this problem because I realized that my plants are in danger and it could be a huge problem for way more than just my plants here. So the antidote you need for this venom crap is a plant, and this is where you go get it. And he's like, all right, that sounds like sound intel. And based on his dissection of the doctor's notes that had been working on the Titan formula, he's like, okay, well, now I have to go into Killer Croc's lair because that's the one place it happens to grow.
Which does make sense for something exotic to be growing somewhere unlike anything else on the island. Croc's lair.
So you finally have to figure out how to get down there. You make your way finally down into Killer Croc's lair, and I think it's like I said, it's a really cool part of this the game because it's unlike any other part of the game. You can either just kind of stealth walk through it or, run and try to dodge Killer Croc. But the segment is you're on the sewer and you're on a bunch of floating pallets. And if you make too much noise on the pallets, since Killer Croc's in the water, he'll be able to detect it and he'll jump up and he'll eat you, or he'll pop up out of the water and he'll charge at you, and you'll have to deal with it accordingly. If you make too much noise, it'll be like an instant game over, though, so you have to be careful.
I never actually ran. It told me not to run, and I did see a clip that if you don't heed that advice and just run, instant game over. Croc will find you and immediately grab you under. I had to watch a YouTube clip because I was just like, okay, it's telling me don't run. I won't run. Yes, parents, I will walk in the lair.
So at this point, I had gotten, I think, like the second to last tool, which is the zipline gun. So I'm like, oh wait, this is just a bunch of straight hallways, and ziplining, I'm not even on the floor. So unless he can hear the air above the water, which, the game didn't say he can. So I was just ziplining from platform to platform, and then if you drop off the zipline and hold your crouch button, you'll like silent land. And if you zip line towards one of the gates that you have to climb over and you're holding forward and the climb button, you'll just climb right over it. And if you just hold your crouch, you'll fall silently. So I was essentially just speed zip lining through the area. And I was like, bzz, bzz, bzz. Okay. And then finally I get to a segment, which I guess is scripted, where Killer Croc jumps out of the water up onto the pallets and he starts charging at me. And I'm like, what do I do? What do I do? And he jumps on me, tackles me into the water, and kills me.
And the game over screen lets you know.
And then the tooltip pops up, says, hey, throw a batarang at his shot color. And I'm like, oh, dang it.
You picked up on that zipline strategy long before I did, because it wasn't until the end, like when Killer Croc takes some of the pallets out, trying to grab you. Some of the pallets will be completely destroyed. It wasn't till then that I was like, oh, I have to zipline across that. I could have ziplined a lot earlier than this. Gee whiz.
Yeah. That fight isn't, like I said, much of a fight. It's just running from Killer Croc, but it is nerve-wracking the whole time because you have to it ramps up because at the beginning he's just kind of stalking you, and if you make too much noise he'll kill you, and if you're in certain segments he'll pop out and start chasing at you, which is easy enough to just throw a batarang. Once he realizes what you're doing and he has to like act or you're gonna get out of there because you have no intention of fighting him, he starts, like, as you're walking, will just pound the pallets above him and underneath you. So you have to full sprint, which is the opposite of what you've been doing this whole time. And you just have to full sprint away from Killer Croc, or he's going to pop up right underneath you and drag you through the pallet. So it escalates from just being silent to a full on, get the hell out of here.
And I
think it's a great segment.
If you go too fast and fall in the water, instant death. Croc physically sees you. You're done.
After that, you don't really deal with Croc pretty much at all. And right before that, a Scarecrow gets eaten by Croc, so he's probably dead, right? Does he make an appearance in the next two games?
He is in the Arkham Knight.
Is it Crane? Or is it a different Scarecrow?
Yes, it is Crane. So
how?
He does have the fear toxin as he's being dragged under. So the explanation that I've heard from fans is that that entire time Croc has been fear toxined, and that's why he doesn't just kill Batman. That's how Scarecrow got out. And at the end of the game, we have one of three hands that grabs the Titan container floating in the water. One of the three hands could be Scarecrow's, to let you know he did get out of there. So the storyline.
Wait, the post-credit scene has different endings?
The post-credit scene, it's the same ending with different arms grabbing the Titan floating in the water. It's one of three arms that will grab the Titan floating in the water, and Scarecrow is one of the arms that it could be. Looks like you've got a screenshot of the arm you saw. Which of the other two did you see? Getting out of there on the Batwing?
And then you could see the box of Titan that, wasn't destroyed. For me, it was Bane.
For me, it was Killer Croc that grabbed it. So it's RNG if it will be Scarecrow, Killer Croc, or Bane. Bane makes the most sense in storyline of him wanting Titan, him wanting a larger dose of that.
It also made most sense to me that he would be down in the water because the way we finish him off finally is we shoot the Batmobile at him.
Yes.
Bruce like autopilots the Batmobile and has it jet boost, and it hits Bane right in the stomach, essentially crumpling him underneath the Batmobile, and then the whole thing goes off the cliff into the water, still firing the jet booster the whole time until presumably it runs out of fuel or malfunctions, but the Batmobile is waterproof, so it presumably runs out of fuel or hits the ground underneath the water, so it keeps going and takes him under there. So for me, it just made perfect sense that it was Bane, because he didn't fully run out of venom. He's got enough in his system, and if he's clever enough, he could have gotten the venom out of his tank and like manually ingested it, or however venom works or whatever. But like I said, Bane is smart, so he probably bided his time, got the Batmobile off of him, swam to the surface, and then either coincidentally or on purpose pulls himself up on the Titan thing. So you telling me that it's multiple characters that could be come out of the water? That's super cool. I really like that.
Yeah,
That incentivizes multiple playthroughs.
yeah. My ending was Croc, and Scarecrow is the other hand that has the possibility of grabbing it, letting you know he survived.
Croc would make sense too, because you don't really do anything to him.
And the two of them, it's just a more berserker, a more scary version of someone who's already a berserker of Croc and Bane. And Scarecrow, it's letting you know he survived. He got through that mauling you thought he took. He was not mauled.
Wrapping up towards the end of the game, after you've finally developed and built the antidote, your plan is to go and deliver it to Poison Ivy and put it in her or her main plants to kind of calm down the
takeover by the plants.
Most Batman villains are either like low level superpower, or they're a threat to him in a different way. They're either like a psycho and he has to fight around his morals, or they're literally like executing civilians, so he has to touch around that. But once Poison Ivy got injected with the Titan, she became a Justice League level threat. Like, if she kept growing in strength, she would have been able to start like destroying Gotham entirely. So
yeah,
while Batman can handle that level of threat, he needs more planning, he needs more time, and so his plan is immediately, okay, I need to control Poison Ivy, otherwise this is going to get to the point where I have to call in somebody bigger than me, and I don't like to do that. I don't like asking for help.
Once she's hit with the Titan and the plants grow all over the island, there are intermittent tremors. Earthquakes are happening regularly as her super-powered plants are moving the earth underneath you and causing damage localized to that island at the moment. But since she's got these powers to move the earth, she's going to use them.
You make your way back into the botanical gardens, and you finally find where, kind of it's where Poison Ivy was left. She's kind of been in the same place the whole time. You kind of know where she was. So you make your way back
out of her cell. Of course she's going to the botanical gardens. There's nowhere else she would want to go.
Right. So you make your way there, and as soon as you get into there, she lets you know that I am not going to let you stop this. Now that I'm kind of off my gourd, I really like this kind of power, and it's kind of cool that I have absolute dominion over plants instead of just like kind of control over them. So no, fuck you. And then she becomes she gets eaten by a plant, and then it turns out she wasn't eaten by the plant, and she kind of she's in a cocoon in the center of a big flower on top of a big giant vine stem. So she just becomes a big flower and then starts shooting you with those spores that you've been fighting throughout her plants as like a beam projectile weapon where she just spams them. And then her other tentacles will start smacking you and growing vines up. And throughout the fight, she will also send a bunch of minions at you. She has I guess she infected them with some sort of pheromone or mind controlling spores or whatever. There's a lot of plant explanation, but who cares? She sends a bunch of minions at you.
She can hypnotize men. So the goons already on the island working for Joker. She just needs to throw her pheromones her way, and they're her goons now.
The fight is really, to me, it was really easy. I imagine on hard, because clearly it's a lot different. But for me, the fight was pretty easy. I was just walking left and right, avoiding the projectiles and the ground spam, and just walking around the enemies, just battering, spamming the whole time. Because it didn't do a lot of damage, but it would chip her even on the parts where she wasn't exposed or her little cocoon thing wasn't open. So you could just battering spam her the entire time. And I was just like, eventually I'm going to kill her. Even if this fight takes like 5 minutes, as long as she doesn't kill me, I'm just going to kill her with these batarangs.
Yeah, once she's exposed, the cocoon opens up. You do significant damage, but yeah, little chipping away. That boss fight, I made it harder than it needed to be because for some reason I had it in my mind I got to jump out of the way, and running out of the way works a whole lot better. So once I finally figured that out, that I needed to run out of the way rather than jumping out of the way, which is slower, much easier.
At Jumping back just a little bit because I just saw that I have this clip. At the end of that game crash jump scare where you briefly play as a Joker, it's the final Scarecrow segment. So you do the little part where you're running away from his gaze, and you get a brief glimpse at it here before you do the final. The way Batman defeats him in these segments is he points a big bat signal at him, which is kind of symbolic of his hope and his determination and his light and his justice, or whatever stupid cheesy thing the writer is going to come up with.
Putting him into the light.
He finally snaps out of the fear, and he just gets injected multiple times here, and he's just clearly Batman's not having any good time with this. Scarecrow does make it away from him here because just the huge overdose of fear he has, but he ends up chasing him later, as we said, and then he runs him into Killer Croc, who eats him, and then I guess he lives through it, but whatever, it's okay. But back to the Ivy part. After you finally put down Ivy, it's like, okay, cool, so I can go and inject her now that she's incapacitated. But unfortunately, since she's in this big giant plant, and the vines have thoroughly destroyed the architecture in the ground, everything beneath it, where the vines are, the whole thing kind of goes limp, and she falls down into the earth. Don't know where she goes, don't know if she's okay, no clue, but Batman has no way to get to her now unless he jumps down there and abandons his objective of stopping the rest of the shit on the island. So he's just like, okay, well, I guess I gotta go after Joker now. Because my plan of stopping Ivy, it's kaput. I mean, she's at least incapacitated right now, so her plants might be able to do stuff, but she can't make any plans and do anything right now. I can figure that out in an hour or two, okay? So I gotta go deal with Joker right now.
You'll probably plant your way out of this. You don't have as much control, but you still have control enough to get your plants to pull you out of there. Yeah, this is getting very important, this Joker thing. I got to go over here now, Poison Ivy. Bye.
Multiple times as you're going through the game, you come towards the visitor center, and after Joker's in full control, he's taken over the intercoms. He's has his goons all over the island. Sections are opened up that shouldn't be. All the guards are, incapacitated. So it's essentially Joker Island now. But throughout the game, you see that around the visitor center, he's building like a big old sign. It starts off with just some wood and like some painted wood, and it's right around the Arkham Asylum symbol is like a big diamond with the Arkham logo inside of it. So he starts building around the Arkham logo that's on the visitor center and making a big wooden face facade, kind of like a clown. Well, he is a clown, but like a fun house or one of those big mirror houses, or a like twisted clown horror house where it's just this big wooden facade with Joker's face, big insane eyes, and he's like, and you go into his mouth to get into the visitor center.
Twisted Clown Whorehouse, I'm in.
It had slowly built up throughout the game. It's like one little segment, most of it, and then finally, after you fail to deal with Ivy, you head towards the visitor center because Joker lets off a bunch of fireworks and formally invites you to the party. So you're like, fuck it, it's my time to go to the party. I'm gonna deal with this Joker because he's literally inviting me. So you make your way to the visitor center.
You've got the fireworks. Now's the time. There's certain sections where Joker is blocked off at different points. Not yet, Bat, and spray painted on the floor at different sections to where the Joker is this way now, Bat, and yeah, big fireworks show. It's time. It's the main event. You're the guest of honor. Come on, Bats.
So you finally make your way to the visitor center. Now, if you're doing your collection run, this is like essentially your last chance to do it. You have limited, because of the vines, you have slightly limited, but still full access to the entire island.
After you beat Ivy, you do have full access, basically, again.
Her vines recede?
Yeah, her vines are still there, but you can get through them to some of the different sections that were just completely off limits at that point.
Okay. So yeah, this is the final segment of the game, the final free roam segment. So if you're going to get collectibles and you're going to solve the riddles and you're going to get enough XP to max out your skill line bar thing, then this is the time. But you make your way to the visitor center, and there's just a couple of goons sitting out there, and one of them with a clipboard, clearly being like the bouncer or the doorman. And you walk up to him, and he goes on with some blah, 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 being like, if your name on the list, you're not coming in. He's like, A, B, Bane, nope. Ah, Batman. And then he turns around the clipboard, and if you look at it, it's just like a bunch of like smeared black ink all over the page, and then one big giant word Batman in red text, and it's like underlined a couple of times. So the whole thing was just like improv. The guy's just being an asshole. He could have just let you right in because he knew.
Certainly he was a bouncer at some point before he got locked up. He's having fun with what he formerly used to do.
Yeah, so he's messing with you for a minute, and then you either can go right in, or if you wait there long enough, they will start to try to beat you up because they're just like, fuck this guy. So if you decide to go in right away or beat the shit out of him, you finally get to this hallway we've been talking about with all these guards and, goons. There are a bunch of shirtless dudes, no shoes, just in prison uniforms. Some of them have Joker paint, but they all have party hats and party crowns. They're all like festive, and they're all like, yay, woo, hooray.
And yeah, as we said earlier, they're playing their part, and they're not going to touch you until you do first.
The first time I walked in there, I had no intention of fighting them, but I was trying to spam the crouch, but I forget that if you double pull the trigger, that you'll use the quick back claw. So I'm just
three
sitting
of them close to you.
Yeah, I just instantly pulled three of them close to me, and they're like, all right, well, we're going to fight you, Batman. So I was like, crap, this is not my intention. So I reloaded my checkpoint, and then I walked back up to it, had to listen to the guy, jerk himself off.
And that long room is a fun little battle. It's very difficult because it's such a thin little hallway with mass amounts of bad guys in it that are ready to kick your ass once you kick off that fight. And as you mentioned, there is an Xbox or a PS3 bonus that goes along with that. The Switch version that I was in misses out on that little collectible badge that's in there. And at this point, you've probably upgraded your explosive spray enough to where if an enemy just gets near it, it'll explode. So you can just spray that explosive spray on the ground and get away from it, and boom, start that fight off with a bang. After that, it's 2 boss fights in a row. The first boss fight I actually found a bit harder than the second. The first boss fight, it's, as mentioned before, of the Berserker type of enemies that are being upped, the ante-upped each time that you run into them, starting with Bane, and then you get one Berserker by himself, one Berserker with thugs, 2 Berserkers by themselves, a Berserker in a small room with thugs. That one I died a fucking lot too. Was the small room with a single Titan enemy and a bunch of thugs. So this first boss battle, after the long hallway battle, is another one I died a good bit on. I died on this next one a lot more than the final one. The next to last boss fight I found much more difficult than the last boss fight, where we have got 2 Titans, 2 Berserkers, and a room full of thugs. Luckily, that isn't too small. And I found this one to be the hardest. I found this one, actually, I think I died the most in the small room with one Titan enemy and the thugs. But this next to last boss battle, I found harder than the last boss battle.
Yeah, they're the regular Berserker guys, but they're even more beefed up, and it seems like they have better AI. They don't wander around the arena as much. They have like an intent to chase you, and if you don't try to immediately deal with them, they can become a huge threat. Now, fortunately, I was playing on easy, so I immediately, like, as soon as the first one charged at me, I threw my batarang and I got on top of him. And you can like briefly pilot the berserker guys and have them kind of swing their arms and attack the other berserkers nearby and the other goons.
The goons, you get a good many hits in. The other berserker enemy, you get 3 in, and then he kicks you off. This one I died a good amount of times too. The last I didn't die. I died a couple of times, but the next to last battle with the two Titan berserkers and the thugs, I died a few times.
Yeah, the last fight, I think I lost twice just because I wasn't paying enough attention and I was letting the berserkers get too much damage on me. I was trying to like, I would get the one to where he would like kind of be staggered and I would have to go punch him to do the damage and climb on top of him. But the other one would be too close. And as soon as I would get the 2 hits in, it would smack me and stop me from being able to get it. So
yeah, that's where I took a lot
had
of damage
to make sure
too.
that I kept them apart from each other because that was the only way I could effectively deal with them.
Focusing on the one stunned one and trying to get in as many hits as possible, and underestimating how long it'll take the other one to start charging you. That's where I took the vast majority of the damage there.
As we've mentioned, though, you don't regain health either. So the fight is kind of like, it can be kind of long if you don't deal with things quickly and smartly. So if the berserkers get some good hits in on you, you're not going to heal until you've dealt with everyone. That's what I thought, actually. I thought I wouldn't be able to heal until I dealt with everybody in the room. But after I defeated the second berserker, there was like 2 more guys, and I was in the middle of punching one of them, and then the screen faded to black to the final section of the game where Joker and Batman have a little bit of a tussle.
And Joker injects Batman with the Titan formula. He resists it, eventually giving himself the antidote, and he's trying to get Gordon with it.
Yeah, exactly. He's trying to get Gordon, but it's kind of a bait because he knows that he's not just going to let Gordon get shot with the venom because Batman's got his hero/god complex. So he immediately, as soon as Joker pulls the gun, he's like, no, and jumps in it and gets shot in his little bat nipple.
And some people have a problem with the Joker's next move. And it is funny where Joker's like, you're taking away my fun. I have nothing to live for, and shoots himself. But of course, it's the Titan gun. And it turns himself into the Titan version of Joker. We get the final battle with Titan Joker here, which is a very video gamey battle of what are we going to do for the final battle? Well, the big bad are these Titan enemies, so Titan Joker is the logical ending, and I understand why people narratively have a problem with that of the Joker, but it did make sense to me in that moment of the Joker just deciding, you messed up my plans. Plan B.
I think it was pretty well done. What this person in this fight is doing is exactly what I would do. As soon as they would jump down, I would fire my bat claw a couple times. I would pull the first group that jumped, the second group, and then the third group. As soon as the third group was pulled, I would start punching them and started dealing with them because they drop so many at you so fast. The mechanics of this fight are pretty simple, though.
Was when they would grab a gun. Like I wouldn't be paying attention to the enemy grabbing the gun locker until it happened to me enough times to be like, all right, anyone gets near that gun locker, we got to get them immediately.
If you pause here, this is essentially the classic 3-stage part of a boss battle. Sometimes it's expanded on. It's like a 2-stage bigger formula or a 4-stage longer drawn out. But whatever. The fight starts off. Joker comes at you swinging with his big Titan form. He immediately gets tired and cocky, so he jumps up on his ledge, sends his goons after you.
News. There's 2 news helicopters circling. This is his big moment. Everyone is going to remember me for killing the Batman live on television.
Right, so he gets up there, and after he's sent enough goons and he's competent that Batman's handled for a second, the helicopters fly by, and he turns to, address his audience, and he starts boasting and blah blah blah. And if you've dealt with the goons fast enough, and every once in a while Joker will throw a present onto the field, which is a little like chomping teeth thing, which will come at you and it'll explode. You have to be careful of that thing and throw a batarang at it, because if you are in the middle of trying to pull Joker down as he's turned around, you fire your bat claw at him and start pulling him down as he's not paying attention to you. If you don't kill that little teeth thing jumping at you, or the guys, they'll just come and punch you, and then Joker will be like, okay, well, never mind, and he'll jump back down, or he'll send more goons at you. The first time, like, I knew how to do this fight because it was A, obvious, and B, I've seen it before. But I just kept messing it up. Like, anytime I would fire my bat claw at him, I would forget the little thing, or there would be one more goon. And instead of it taking just
that one lost goon, I thought I had everyone down, and yeah, that messed me up. That was the biggest frustration I had in this battle, was that final goon that I was certain was down, when it's like, all right, boom, just a punch. All right, reset. Another bunch of enemies coming down at you.
Yeah, so you finally, you clear the arena, and you make sure that nothing's going to shoot you. You get your bat claw and you pull Joker down. He falls kind of face first. He has big mutated bone claws for his hands now, so they're not very usable. And unfortunately, he falls right on them, so his fingers get stuck into the floor, and he's kind of just wide open for Batman to just go up and wallop on him. Which, go ahead and continue. And you can either just like walk up and punch him, but I always do the sprint jump kick to get the ×4 bonus in there, because you get the extra hit from the sprint kick, just as a like kind of a fuck you to Joker. So after you get your little bit of damage in, now you see his health bar is 1/3 of the way down. You just run around the arena and kind of repeat the process. It's kind of the weakest boss fight of the game. I mean, Bane is literally just one Titan berserker guy and not a big of a deal. But this Joker boss fight could have been so much more. There could have been like a segment where he runs to a different rooftop and you have to like parkour and like bat claw your way across or something. This fight could have been a lot more, in my opinion.
3-stage boss. This feels like the same stage to me that you're doing 3 times.
Exactly,
and
yeah.
I was disappointed at the end of clobbering him 3 times. It's a fun little cinematic sequence that we get of Batman here loading up the explosive gel on his hand and punching him out. But I was ready for another phase.
Right, I was ready for like another like a one-on-one boss fight where he's ready to actually fight me. But you kind of just cutscene logic, just one-shot the Joker by punching him in the face, which to me doesn't make much of a sense. I mean, I understand you've kind of beaten up on the Joker up until this point, but he's fully tightened out, and he still has all of his mental faculties up until the point where you punch him in the face, and then suddenly just the Joker's out, and that's the end of the game. Like, the game is
it would have been a
on
cool
fire,
final
punching on all cylinders up until this point, and then it feels like this last part, they're just like, what do we do? I don't know. This.
Yeah. If we would have taken him down in a different variation, in a different form, it usually goes in 3s. So that's what I was thinking, is we were going to get, because I forgot exactly how this fight went. And I was disappointed that that was the only phase. And I do like that as a finishing move, the exploding punch. But he was missing 2 phases for it to feel completely satisfying.
What I think, just like a quick, just based on other games I've played and the set that's already given to us right here, I think a better setup would be him to have started on top of a different building, and we go up there and we kind of just do that first phase where he runs around beating us up, calls a couple of goons, and then we pull him down once to get the feel of the mechanic, and then we're like, okay, now we know what to do. Then he jumps over to the other roof to get away from you, because
smaller battle
because
area.
And that's also where he has it actually set up. That's where his like face is painted on the floor, and he has his little built up arena instead of just on top of the roof.
Oh, we never got
jumps in there.
Another
then
boxing
you do it.
fist. That would have been a fun variation for the second room, because one of the presents is that he's fakes you out on, that's going to be a big bomb, is just a big boxing fist. The second or third roof having those boxing fists coming out at you. As we're talking through it, it's such a phenomenally well done game. It's disappointing that they didn't think of these different phases and little things that
last part would have been so cool. Like if you pull the Joker down, he falls through the floor, and then instead of like coming back up and being like all mad at you, the whole floor collapses and you fall down into whatever room's down there. And Batman, having his little like stiff cape mechanic, takes no fall damage because he just quickly puffs it up, and then Joker starts charging at him, and he has just enough time to go and then that's where the last part of the fight takes place. You have your little explosive fists. You have to reload them. You get 2 good punches in, and then you take a second. And, I think that would have been a lot cooler, because that just the idea of him spraying that on there, doing a little bit of damage to his fists, but having the residual Titan in there to have the beefiness to take the explosion. And also,
it's just been so cool. Those explosive fists in, because at some point you're going to explode your gloves right off and put it on your flesh, and then you've just exploded your hand.
Yeah, I think it would have been cool, because I thought like after like it was panning to his arm, I thought like he was going to have like his hand messed up or something like that, and it's like no, his gauntlet took the beef of it. He's fine. Batman's fine. Something I did really like though is from the like every cutscene or major cutscene throughout the game, your bat suit gets slightly more damage. It starts with a little cut right on your nipple as the elevator falls down, and
then you can see the exact moments when these happen. And the very first little abrasion that happens is the elevator dropping to the ground and on your chest.
It's hard to notice in that last fight because, it's a weird camera angle and there's so much going on. But you also get another bat suit damage feature there where your cape, like the whole bottom of it looks like it's been like burned away and like torn. So presumably if Batman was flying around afterwards with that cape, it would have severe stability loss. Because I know the whole purpose of it, or the whole like function of it, is it has like wires in it that can become fiber or like as stiff as steel, and then he can just like toggle them on and off by flapping it or however it works. But that's why his cape is like fabric, and then suddenly is literally just like a hang glider. So I feel like he would use that damaged cape and he'd go and start listing to the other side, because he doesn't have a wing on that side essentially anymore.
Just floating around in circles. He's got one paddle on one side, but half of the hang glider is no more, but the other half, it can get you a tip in circles.
All right. So before we wrap up for this episode, we'll touch on our usual, what was your favorite part of this game?
The fight mechanics. It's so fun, and I'm happy that they have a challenge mode. They have a stealth and a combat challenge mode that you can go back to, and very happy that in this port of the Switch, we got the PlayStation exclusive Joker, who has his own little tactics of getting around. Here's his funny little walk as they're getting around. And his takedowns are more comical. There, he's gassing them and gives a little. That's something I didn't get to experience.
Oh, that's
before
cool.
This sport. One of his finishing moves is the electric handshake. Another one, getting on the guy's back and punching him. So having that added so much value to this game. Initially playing it is having those challenge fights to go back to. The stealth is fun to do as well, but the combat challenge mode adds so many hours to this, and now having the option to do it as the Joker here, I immediately went to that instead of the Bat combat challenges.
I think that is really cool, and I actually might just go and do one of the Joker challenges just to experience it. I don't know if it's on the PC version, so I'll just check. If I don't have it, then I won't do it. But it's really cool to know that that is a thing, because I didn't even know that was on the PlayStation version.
And yeah, you have you can't you put on your little funhouse glasses. You can't move. That's one of your three options. You've got your funhouse glasses. You've got exploding teeth, which you will follow, and then you want to find, of course, a couple of guards to explode those teeth on. And the other one is a gun. You just shoot one of the guards dead, and of course, alert everyone to your position. So those are the three gadgets that the Joker has. Are his variation of detective mode. You can only stand still with the X-ray specs. One exploding teeth. You got one chance to use them, and the gun.
I like that the third tool is just gun, which is very Joker, because he used it in that cutscene against Batman, so we know he has a gun with him. We don't know how many bullets or anything like that, but it doesn't matter. He's the Joker. So my favorite part of Batman Arkham Asylum was the part I didn't like at the beginning. I knew I was going to be excited for the combat and these certain parts where I was like chasing the bosses and fighting them. But after the first like couple of combat segments, I was like, I have to walk around the island and like be Batman. I have to like figure out how to get into things and like climb through vents and be stealthy and like just solve puzzles and think. I wanted it to be like a beat 'em up game, but that ended up being my favorite part, is that I had to think, and I had to like the fact that it's also a puzzle and a platformer. It's not just an action detective beat 'em up. Like I was like, oh, okay. I really, really like this. I really like the parts where I'm skulking in the vents and looking. Like, one of my favorite parts is when you have to get up the elevator that had like crashed, and now you have to like parkour from one segment to the other, and you have to look for little parts in the vent where you can shimmy across it and pull your way up. Or in the sewer segment where you're hearing Joker above you mixing the Titan formula and experimenting on his people, when you're just skulking around being Batman. I think that is my favorite part. And it sounds so cheesy and stupid, but that was awesome.
And that's only amplified in Arkham City with the expanded cape mechanics, more gadgets, more finishing moves. So it's absolutely really fun in this one. Gone sky high with City, and Knight's there. Not on the Switch port. It's not very playable, but Knight is there. I find it narratively possibly the best Arkham Knight, but peaking with the combat and the gameplay in Arkham City with me. A fantastic intro to the series that they expanded upon to possibly what I think is maybe the most perfect game I've ever played. It's
How long of a game is Arkham City? Like, if you're not trying to 100% it, if you're just kind of like doing the story and not literally speedrunning it.
I'm not exactly sure.
Are we talking 8, 20, 50, 100 hours?
Probably 30 to 40.
Okay, cool. Awesome.
That would be my guess. We'd have to ask the internet what they think. I'm guessing a 30 to 40 hour if you're just trying to power your way through it. And there are some optional side missions in Arkham City as well.
Well, since we don't currently have any guests scheduled, and we both happen to have Batman, and we just beat this next one, for our next episode, do you want to do Arkham City?
I would love to have an excuse to jump into Arkham City. This really did get me primed to be like, I don't know if we're doing Arkham City anytime soon, but I would love to jump into City.
Well, then this, I guess, is a unofficial tease. Next episode, I don't know the date. Let's pull it up real quick.
2 weeks
on
from
the
today,
31st, we will be doing Batman Arkham City, which is great because I'm really enjoying the game. Like, there's been a couple of games that I've played for this podcast where I've enjoyed it, but I've just kind of felt like I was doing it for the show. A good example is the Quarry. I really enjoyed the Quarry, but especially with my computer issues, which was prevalent in this episode recording, I got kicked out of my own show because my computer froze. Sound like Stuttering John.
Speaking of Mr. Freeze, with your computer issues, that might be the best boss fight of the Arkham
season
series.
2?
A lot of people consider his Arkham City boss fight to be the best boss fight of this series.
Okay, I'm excited now to know. Okay, I'm gonna be honest. When I was coming across the part where Bane is in the little room, and since I was honestly just walking around the entire game with Detective Vision, before I knew who or what was in there, I saw that there was somebody hanging up in that room, and my Detective Vision couldn't scan it and figure out who it was. So because it was shrouded in mist and stuff, I thought that was Mr. Freeze. Whenever I came up to it and then the room clears and it's like Bane hanging up there, I was like, oh, I know Bane was in this game, but I was expecting that to be Mr. Freeze. My bad. Sorry for assuming who you were.
And we do see Mr. Freeze's cell just coated in ice.
Oh, I must have missed that. There's so many Easter eggs and touches to this game. I think this is a really, really good example of a game or an IP that a game studio took, and instead of just being like, okay, we're just gonna make a game and slap this like paint on it, they really, really made a good Batman game. They made a great story, fun combat, and as I mentioned, my favorite part is the out of combat parts. So this whole game is really good.
It inspired the fighting game genre to go in that direction with this very revolutionary combat style at the time that other developers took notice of and said, we're going to use a variant of that.
Now that we've confirmed it, I'm very excited to start on Arkham City, and I'll probably do that tonight. Well, Dylan, what have you been working on lately, and where can people find you in the upcoming future?
I have been working on finding a job. Right now, I am still live streaming at 11:30 a.m. Eastern. Once I do get a regular 9 to 5 or 7 to 2 a.m., whatever the hell it may be, that might move around a bit. But I'm doing live streams Tuesday through Thursday at 11:30 a.m. with co-host auditions, TikTok around the clock, and chatting with beloved chatters.
Well, that's fantastic to hear. This last episode of Chatting with Beloved Chatters with American Cupcake, I think was pretty cool. I liked the format of a kind of movie review breakdown / top 10, but it was top 9 list. So I think that was a really cool idea. And I think you guys executed it pretty well.
Thank you. And yeah, my preferred runtime for my shows are 60 to 90 minutes. So that one, I think next time I attempt it will be a top 5, bottom 1 to try to keep it. I knew it was going to be longer as we were excited to watch all the Mel Brooks movies. So let's watch them all.
Yeah, just like I knew this episode was going to be longer. The episodes that are just me and you tend to run a little bit longer because we have a little bit more room to talk, and I don't feel like I am stepping on our guests' toes in their time. I know everybody has lives and stuff to do, but it is nice to not feel like I have to, just cut the show off. So this episode and probably the next one are going to run long, especially with the amount of passion we both seem to have for this game because it's really fun. So
yeah, as I mentioned, I consider Arkham City possibly my favorite game ever. Definitely in the top 3, maybe number 1.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us this week. Everyone that caught the show live. Thank you for joining us, everyone. As usual, we appreciate you. And we'll see you next time.